Hello friends and welcome back to another tutorial. My name is Murtaza Brahmi from Art Studio 313, and in this tutorial we're going to create this really nice product model or product rendering. So this is the first image and this is the second with the glow, as you can see, before and actually after with applying the glow. So you only see the glow around this light or the lamp, and the idea is actually from this image which I searched in the Google. This is the name of this guy, I think, but the idea is actually is inspired from this image. So let's open up Blender, but before diving into this tutorial, make sure to like and subscribe this channel for the upcoming videos. And of course, I will put the link for my courses because I am Blender instructor, as you know, and I produce a lot of video courses in the field of Blender 3D. So make sure to visit the link below as well for the courses. So now this is the actually scene that I've created. So let's switch to Studio to see it a little bit better. So first we need to model these object, and then the rest is not too complex. And then we will talk about the lighting and of course the material. If I go to render mode, you will see that our shapes or our model has got some basic material. So let's press Ctrl N to open up new, and we click on save to save it, and then we click on general to open it up. So currently I use Blender 4.2. We press A to select everything and we delete. So I like to start from scratch. So we press, first of all, let's go here and choose one of these. In case if you like, you can use one of these free. Let's add a cube or cylinder, and we can play around with the color of these. In case if you want to have your own actually color, such as this, then click on cavity to start modeling. So let's delete it and we press Shift A. We add a cylinder. In this case we open it up and multiply it by 2 because we want to make it really round. So make sure to have your image reference somewhere so that you can see it in live preview. So if I use Pure for these to actually can manage my image references really quick. So I have my image render in other monitor, and based on that I like to actually model this out. So we move everything in edit mode. We press A to grab everything, move it up, it's okay. And then for the next shape, which is this part, so this is finished. For this one I like to use a very nice trick, which is gonna be a cylinder or circle, sorry. Then we rotate it in x-axis by 90 degrees. Let's move it up, enter tab, grab these a few and delete those, and then extrude those towards downward. Okay, so this is very basic part, and then we can scale it somewhere around here, should be fine, and then right click, convert to curve. So with this one we can actually go to its properties, open up geometry and play around with depth. So click until it matches. We can enter tab and scale it down in case if we feel that it should be enough. So now I like to move this somewhere around here. So for that we can use snap, set it to vertex, and G, Z, and snap it somewhere around here. So when you press G, Z, and snap it. So for here, I like to press Ctrl and 2 to make it really round. So in this case, we added a subdivision 2 by 2 level. So Ctrl 2 will add 2 level of subdivision automatically. So that's perfect. And now we can actually grab this, move it up just a little bit, and move this guy down by pressing Z, and then it's finished. So the next thing is that we can actually grab this part and make it just a little bit round. So we can now add the segments, and we can play around with this part. So let's add the segments, a few more segments. Okay, everything is finished and clear. Let's grab this center point, Shift S, and cursor to selected. And then we press Shift A and go to Mesh, add an UV sphere. So in this case, we can press Ctrl 2 to make it really smooth. So we can hide it at any time that we want, or unhide it. Look at from this angle, move it down. Okay, that's fine. So I like to grab this part, and then I press Shift D to duplicate it, then press P to separate that part. So now you can see that I've got two parts. So for this second part, I like to use Solidify modifier. So we go to Solidify, and then on top of that, I like to add a bevel. So bevel, we set it to around 2 segments. Let's move the top ball just a bit upper, something around this. So I think we can actually select these two. We set it to set the transform pivot point to 3D cursor, because the 3D cursor is located here, and then we can scale those just a little bit up to match it with our reference image. Then move it down again, and boom, it's finished. So now we can save it. I can name it to product render number 2. Okay, because saving your image or your work is really important. So let's click here, and I like to go and turn on the fill caps or gaps. This way we can fill those automatically without any problem. And then let's press A, right click, and shade auto smooth. It will work for all those parts. So because this is a curve, we need to convert it to mesh. Right click and convert it to mesh. So now it's time for creating that cabinet or something that we can put it. So because I like to keep these tutorial short, so we can select the cabinet from here, or we can import our object here, and then we can do the rest. So the model is the same as you saw, okay, and we can model the cabinets. So let's go in depth it. It's really basic. It's really basic. So let's click here. We can move everything to a new collection. We can name it model, and then let's click on this one. Let's hide it for a second, then press Shift A and move the cursor toward the origin. Press Shift A and add a cabinet. In this case it's not a cabinet, but we name it as a cabinet. Let's set it to 0.04. So this is gonna be the first or the top face of our cabinet, and then we want to actually move it in this way. So we want to extrude it, right, by 2 meter, and then we want to extrude it again in x-axis by 2 meter. Well, let's type 2 meter. So grab it, x 2 meter. So now we created this part. Let's enter tab R, Control R to add a loop cut. And then we press 3 for face, select all these faces. Okay, so let's add another Control R. We can create another bevel here. Let's select these two, Control P to bevel them. So we want to only one level up segment and not too much. And then 3, select all these faces, and of course these faces as well, and move it in x and z axis by -90, -1. Oh, it doesn't work. So let's grab it, press E, Z, and let's type it by 2 meter actually. Now it's finished. In case if we want to add some details, such as the original cabinet that you saw, we can actually assign new loop cut. So we can then press Control R to assign the loop cut, and press GG 2 times to move this loop cut. So now you can see I move it up somewhere around here because I like to add some interesting things around it. So now let's press 3. Or let's select this part. And then press Alt E and extrude face along normals. So this is not a normal cabinet, okay? So there is a lot of ways. In the future, maybe I would have a tutorial about how to make a cabinet, but this is just for the demo. Okay, so this is finished now, and then let's turn on our product. Let's see where is those. Numpad slash. Okay, so grab all of these and scan them. Look at from top, and we can move those somewhere around here. So this part is actually finished. Now you will see the details. Let's click here to see the details even better. Just take a look. So now we have at least something to work with in a better way. Okay, so the next part is actually which I'm going to continue with the rest. So I added this box to block out some parts of the lights. So this part is not too important, so we can move it to somewhere here. And then we created a hole to let the light or the sun come in through these. And then with the help of these slats, I blocked out the sun so that it creates a really nice shadows around, in the background and as well on my model. Then I added 2 cameras, so we can add multiple camera for different shots. For example, this one is from underneath, and this one is from top, I believe. So we can actually adjust it like so. So this is capturing from top. So now we want to talk about the lighting because the modeling process is finished now. and I like to add some material for these, and yeah, so that we can go step by step. So we go in the first project that we created. So first of all, I like to talk about material. So in the material field, if I just open it up, let's open up another panel. We go to shader editor, and then let's press N. And here you will see that, let's delete some of these. So for the cabinet, I used a very, very basic material. Actually, this part is for the ambient occlusion, in case if you want to add some ambient. Otherwise, this is the base color of the cabinet. But in here, I just tweak the coat and the sheen. You will see that it allows us to have some lines on the table, on the faces, and as well you can play around with this sheen, but this is not actually too important here, therefore you will see that I turned off both the weights, but you can play around with the specular, set the level to around something, and if you wonder about the hex code, so this is the hex code, like a greenish wood color that I use here, and this is not a metallic, but I set it the roughness to 0.9. So then if you click here, go to HSV, you can play around with the hue saturation and to get different color. And then we have actually in the internet you can just search cabinet hex code, cabinet color hex code, and there will be actually pop up a lines of hex code for the color of the cabinet. So this one is interesting as well, and then if you want you can copy the hex, and then we assigned or imported these nodes by pressing Shift A, and we type, for example, ambient occlusion, color ramp, and mix. So we mix those. You can play around with these, and then we mix those from here, because mix shader doesn't, it can't actually directly go to the material output. It should be one of these shaders, and the shaders is highlighted with this green bar at the top. So this is about this. You can see if I hold on Control and Shift with the Node Wrangler add-on enabled, you will see these parts says that, oh, there is a lot of ambient occlusion. You can play around with ambient occlusion. You can control it more. So when we mix these two together, so let's copy and paste these parts. When we do that, so we will have actually more of these parts available in front of the camera and in front of the render image output. And for the body, or for the metal part, I actually used dark color, dark green, and we set up the metal to 1, roughness to half, and here I played around with the coat. In this case, because we have a metallic, the coat will come in handy, so you can play around with that. And then for this part, and then we actually selected this part, Control L in link material. So any adjustment we do on one of these pieces, it will assign for the other or for the rest. And here, as you can see, I just assigned a single emission with a strength of 30, nothing else. And of course, for the lighting, I actually used the sky texture. You can see that air is almost 0, dust we have about 1.5, and the ozone is set to 0. And then yeah, we just play around with the sun elevation to get a good angle. So now you can see if I just play around with that, you will see the effects of the lines and the shadows in the background and on my object. So this is the sun rotation and the elevation. So sun size is important because if you set the sun size to 0, we will get the shadows really harsh. And when we set it to a bigger size, we will make those smoother. And then sun intensity is something that it's in real world intensity. When you set it to a high number, you will burn everything. Just like I set it to 3, if I just set it to 20, what will happen? So it will burn everything. So 1 is something around it. Okay, so you have to play around. So I like to set it to 0.4 so that it doesn't burn my actually object, because I like to see. So that's about it. So this is not all the tricks we can cover in this short video, of course. In the further lighting, I have created many courses, which is some of those is my top courses in the lighting after many years of experience in the Blender lighting and texturing as well. So this is from this part. Then for the rendering, we add camera, and if you want to light your camera, you can hold on Ctrl Alt and numpad 0. By selecting the camera, your camera will be light from that angle. Okay. Another thing that I'm focusing on is that the sampling and the camera setting. So once you select your camera, you can assign depth of field. For example, if I just select this part and we set it to really low number like 0.1, we will kill everything out except what we have in focus. So I don't like to use this currently, and we can actually click here to turn it off, and now it will capture everything. Okay, so and but it's good to have just a little bit. For example, 2 is a good size because it tried to make a blurry shape around my object. Well, let's set it to 3. So anyway, I'm not going in depth to it because I've explained these parts in details, and I like to keep my tutorial short, under 30 minutes, to not be actually too long. So anyway, now let's about the rendering. Let's talk about the rendering. So we can go and open up the properties for the rendering and the output, of course. So in this case, we can change the format or the canva. There is a few presets. You can choose one of those, or you can just type manually. Because we take a still image render, so we don't touch those except this part. So we will set it to RGBA, and we use PNG. You can set it to JPEG as well. And RGBA is actually when you try to render a for example, PNG or transparent background. So in this case, we will set it to RGB without RGBA, and then when everything is finished, from here, so we go to render. So here we don't talk about the viewport. So let's turn it on, but for the render, make sure to set a good max sample. In this case, I set it to 200, but for render we can use higher number like 500, 600, but this is for a test. And let's click on render, and then we go to F12 or render image. So make sure while you are rendering something, make sure to set your viewport to at least wire or solid, because your computer will try to render in the same time to render. One of those is your viewport, and the second one is your render image. So now you will see it will take render. So we will finish the tutorial right here, and make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, and of course visit the link of my video courses on the Udemy. And thank you very much. See you soon.